Hello, everybody. This is your buddy James Bussell with you, and we have Michelle in India as our contestants today. And we are playing the 6S numbers game, which I recently updated. And the goal of this exercise is to teach some of the principles of 6S workplace organization, but it's also for anybody viewing this to be able to take this, make it their own, and share the importance of workplace organization to others in their organization. Okay, so we're going to show through this exercise how these principles can make a big difference in how we work. And we want to experiment. And that's what a lot of lean is about. It's experimenting with ideas firsthand. And you'll see how small structured changes can improve the efficiency, safety, and teamwork in a fun, interactive way. And one of the things that we move away from too many times in 5 or 6S workplace organization is we make it project based because we're setting the system up and there isn't the improvement aspect of we're making improvements on the fly and we're documenting them. And that's something I'm going to show with this methodology how we can go about doing, because that's what this is about. We're setting up a system, but we want to continue to find a better way. All right. So just some background on 6S workplace organization. Many might know as 5S, but there had been a lot of criticism in the years since this came out, with safety not being incorporated. Ideally, safety should be ingrained in each of the 5 steps or pillars, but not always the case. So, especially us in America, we need the constant reminder of safety first. So, what 6S is, or 6S workplace organization, is a disciplined, collaborative approach to maintaining order and eliminating waste in the workplace through the use of visual controls, which will show what that means. So the purpose of 6S is to create and maintain an organized, clean, safe, and high performance workplace where everything is in its right place. And this will enable workers to identify and eliminate waste that removes frustration. It makes the work safer and easier, and then will help improve quality, increase speed, and then decrease cost in every process. So workplace organization is the foundation for establishing standard work in any area. I start my training talking about standard work, and we move into this and something I'm thinking about maybe switching the ideas, because they are different things, but we want standardization of the best way to do things. So this is something that can be applied in any area, right? So it could be that physical area, and it can be, as Michelle is working on, it can be, transactional and virtual work. All right. So Michelle, are you still with us even though you're gone?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep going then. All right, so this is a recent update I made, India. We work for 3 Nook, the numbers Nook. We make the numbers. That's our slogan, okay? So both of you and me, to some extent, are employees at this factory that's dedicated to the production of numbers. So this is a lively environment filled with the sounds of machinery and the energy of teamwork as skilled workers collaborate to create the essential numerical products for various applications. Today, we're exploring each of the 6 pillars of the 6S methodology, which are essential for creating a safe and effective workplace. All right. So we're going to start shift 1 here at 9:54 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you don't have a piece of paper, that's all right. You can probably do this in your head, but what we're going to do, the next slide represents our current workplace throughout our facilities at 3 Numbers Nook. Okay. Our job is to identify the numbers 1 through 49. Okay. Write them in sequential order as you spot them. So, for example, you see 1, 1. You see 2, 2. If you see 9, you have to look for 1 and 2 first, and you have to find them in sequential order, is the idea of the game. All right. And the team will equal the lowest individual score for the people achieved. And I'm actually going to play this time as well because I haven't seen it since I've updated it to see where these numbers are. And then we'll see what our scores are. Okay. And then we're going to have 30 seconds for this shift. All right. All right. Let's go. 10 seconds. All right. How'd we do?
Not very well.
I didn't do well either, and I created this. I couldn't find the number one.
Correct. Took me 30 seconds to find the number one.
I got to two. I got one, and I literally got two in the last second.
And I'm okay. You get a phone call or someone sending an email that you have to retrieve this. I don't know about you guys, but this is sometimes how it feels.
Yeah.
Can't get what they need because either we had an organized system or it gets regressed. I started working with ChatGPT to see, because this is gonna be the future of work, with AI. Is like, how can you create how this feels? And to me, this picture, can you see the picture?
Yeah.
Is a good explanation of that. I also like the free floating hand that's in the corner of this, because that's I feel like I have a severed hand, like I'm so frustrated looking for stuff. So I thought this was good. But unfortunately, this is a lot of what our workday might be, whether we're working on the floor or we're looking for information virtually, or in a Teams meeting or whatever it might be. It's pretty chaotic. We had numbers spinning around, leaving the work area, striking our workers in the head. We can't have that happen, obviously. Okay. So coming into this, for any organization, and this is going to be a focus a lot on physical workplaces, just for we have it here, but there's also what we'll get into for transactional work is the psychological safety that happens when we don't have what we need or we work in a cluttered environment. So, common causes of safety incidents in physical environments, we don't have safety procedures. People ignore the safety procedures. We're dealing with hazardous materials. And this is where the virtual aspect comes in. We're dealing with poor ergonomics. And I've been guilty of this, having to, excuse me, incorporate better screens and multiple screens and stuff, and having my posture right, sitting at a standing desk when I can do that. Some of the problems that I run into when I work virtually or from my home is I don't have great internet where my standing desk is. So I'm moving in different areas, and that's something. Why not make the change to move it closer to my router, which I still haven't done after a couple of years? A no-brainer, right? There's poor housekeeping is a big issue we run into. People don't put things back. We might have the spot for it, we might have the procedures, but we're not following it. There's not adequate visual controls, right? Or we have poor lighting, or you have an environment where people are susceptible to slipping, tripping, and falling. You have falling objects, which I don't believe there's any current members of Lean Jacks, but of past members. Thank you very much for when I come and there's objects falling almost on my head. Okay, like just like it's happened many, many times. And I will say, truthfully, none of our current members, but some past companies I have worked with have had that. A lot of times with safety, there's ineffective training, or there hasn't been any training in what the safe workplace is. Unleveled workload. This is when some people are working furiously and sweating buckets. Others are just sitting there waiting, right? That's something that inefficient layout. And this is something with some organizations that I've worked with, is something it's a huge game changer when it comes to safety. How do you make it easier to use the most of the space you do have? So, especially when you're doing certain operations that, have some safety issues that you want to prevent. So, why safety? And why is safety incorporated in this 6S? Even though I've had people even on LinkedIn, why do you call it 6S? It's 5S. Everyone knows safety is important. I'm like, I don't think everybody knows, or they don't
Right.
act like they know.
Yeah.
And one of the things too, it's also branding. It's whatever they're calling it in the lean community today. To me, it's workplace organization and safety really is what the ideal name for this is. But for the situation we were just in, we have numbers coming everywhere. These numbers, I didn't even mention, weigh quite a bit. So they're knocking people out when they're on, going around. Okay, so what we're trying to do with safety, and this is where lean can really come in because it's process improvement, it's problem solving, it's continuously to get better. What we're trying to do is eliminate the opportunity for hazardous conditions, right? And then hazardous practices, which is employee based of things that they're doing. So we want to use lean methods and techniques to enable effective change management to continuously improve the safety process. As many of you, or the two of you here, and maybe some of our viewers out there know, I love the Shigeo Shingo quote, and he was one of the most prominent people in the lean movement, was a consultant for Toyota that trained many, many of their employees. Is his priorities of improvement. And I might sound like a broken record, but the number one priority for improvement is to improve the safety and the ease of work for the people doing the job, because that is number one. You're always starting there. And I deal with too many companies. What's the goal of improvement? To cut costs. No, 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 no. That is an outcome of what we're going to do and something we need to do, but that can't be your goal for improvement. Because let me ask the two of you this rhetorical question. If the everyday worker, if you ask them, if you tell them we have to improve this so we can cut internal costs, are you going to get buy-in from those people generally?
No.
No. Like, would you get buy-in if someone told you that, or like, would you be bought in? Like, let's go do this. I wouldn't. I don't know.
No.
It doesn't resonate with me. It's important, but it doesn't resonate with me. What resonates with me is like, I'm going to have what I need to do my job. And I'm not going to be coming home with a back injury, or I'm not going to be coming home with a migraine headache because I just can't, staring at screens, I can't find what I need. Okay. So that's why I think it is important to call this 6S and to call it safety. All right. So let's improve the workplace organization in the area. We're going to start with safety. So our goal is to provide a safe, accident-free workplace, and not in spite of ourselves. We actually want to make it we're reducing the opportunities for error, okay? So let's arrange the space in a logical way, organizing tools and materials and cleaning regularly to make it easier for people to do their jobs without tripping, slipping, and experiencing ergonomic injuries. And that's why what I like to focus with this, with 6S workplace organization, is this is not a one-time thing and we're done. This is something we want to incorporate into everybody's daily behaviors. And it helps to start as a project base to put it in, but we're going to want to integrate it in and break it down into what are certain things that need to be done each day to ensure safety of the process. Okay. So fortunately for us, we have a crack engineering team that has been working diligently in developing easy to implement, inexpensive, and effective anti-spinner devices. And I hope you like the one I told AI to create. This is the best we could do. Okay. All right. So safety being on the prominent portion of this. Let's go back to the traditional 5S, which was based off 5 Japanese words that I can't remember off the top of my head. So we're just going to go with the English iterations of these, or the English translations. So sort. This is our next step. We did that. We didn't do very well, right? I think our score was 1, maybe 1 or 2. was the best that we did, the three of us. So the next step is sort. What we've done, we've removed the from the area the numbers 50 to 90 because our customer doesn't want to buy those numbers. But yet we've been producing them and storing them and handling them and moving them across the plant and all the 8 wastes together for 5 years now. Okay. But we're just finding out. We talk to the customer, they don't want to buy those, so we don't have to store those. And then let me say, like, cutting costs, this is a great way. We're cutting costs. We're not storing inventory that's needed. We got rid of that. We just slashed some costs. Excellent. So same rules apply. You got to name them as you see them. Let's do another 30-second shift and see how we do. All right, 10 seconds. All right, how do we do?
Much better.
What did we get?
I got all the way up to 39, but not in order. Like those are just the
Oh,
numbers that I see.
okay, you've seen 39. Like, where did you get with the order? I can.
So my order, I have 1, 6, 11, 13, 15, 18, 24, 27, 28, 29, 30, 33, 36, and 39.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good that we saw those, but we wanted to find them in order. So,
Correct.
so Michelle, were you able to find any in order?
I didn't move past 1. I found 1 and I could not find 2.
Yeah,
I don't
Well,
know where 2
let's
is.
look. See number 2,
right there, number 2.
pretty big, but yet we couldn't find it. Which what does that tell us?
Still not
Oh
good enough.
my goodness.
Still not as efficient as it could be.
Still not as efficient as it could be. Like, so we have, like there's numbers, so we could technically call this visual management, but is it really?
No,
Are these visual controls useful? No.
nope.
No.
So, and this is another nice AI image I created. Why don't we sort these numbers and put them in different categories if we can? So the benefits of sorting: eliminate clutter that causes hazards supported by safety hazards that we have. Let's get rid of the unnecessary items, which we started to do. We got rid of the numbers they weren't going to buy. Let's try to find ways to streamline the workflow. Let's reduce distractions by keeping only essential items. When you have stuff that's not needed, it becomes distracting, and it's actually, they've proven, and I think we're going to see some of this in the training Michelle and I are going through, because heard it's all based on science, that psychological safety is not great when you have to deal with clutter. It's not a good work environment when you can't see what you need to do your job. It just becomes distracting. So this is going to support the sweep or shine phase as well, because it promotes a cleaner work environment for it easier to access our tools and materials. And then we want it sorted out, like, so we promote a sense of pride and ownership in a tidy workplace, right? Because they say, like, I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's a recent Clorox example commercial that's come out that is scientific studies that's saying cleaning your toilet is actually a more emotionally satisfying. It makes you feel good than some of the things that you really, really enjoy doing, like whether it's playing video games or going for a run or doing things. There is pride in having cleanliness and having order. And they're showing this through scientific studies. So what also, like, we're going to reduce our storage costs, which I said, and waste by cleaning out the unnecessary items. So again, we start with sorting it out, but there's different things we have to do in order to this. We got rid of the ones we don't need, but maybe it might help to whereas we blend into the set and order category we're going into next. Okay. So set in order. We've installed some racking and organized the items so that number one is in the bottom left-hand corner and the numbers are located from left to right, the bottom to top. This is something, just imagine the three of us took a little more time and we came up with this solution. And so what set in order is, we take what we sorted, but then we organize, arrange, and label all the necessary items in the work area for easy access, okay? So again, examples of this, one's going to be in the bottom left, two in the middle, three in the top left. And then we're going to also incorporate Shine as part of this. So Shine involves, you might see sweep too with the English translation, but it's going to be, we want our work areas seen through the eyes of an important visitor. I've been doing this for several years, and unfortunately, some of them have passed away of the examples I use. I don't know who's an important visitor these days. Could be it from anybody's mentality, could be the president of the United States, or it could be Taylor Swift, or it could be whoever you want. Who do you want to impress? And this is how the work area should look all the time, okay? Because who you really want to impress are either your customers or the people you're working with, like each day to show that you're taking pride. So a dirty workplace covers up problems and opportunities for error. And that is one of the big aspects of 6S workplace organization that is a huge benefit. If we're cleaning machines or we're cleaning our desktop, we're removing opportunities for error. We don't know unless we're touching something if there's going to be a problem. And that's something that how with Shine, especially in physical machines and stuff like that, how it's very important to be doing this daily because we're going to notice opportunities for error. We can prevent safety problems from happening or breakdowns because most organizations I run into or I work with, there's significant machine downtime that is preventable if people just had their eyes on it and they're trying to, going around the corners to see if there's any opportunities for error. So we want to eliminate the dirt, grease, dust from the floor, machines, materials, equipment, or it could be if we have a process where we have a Jeep or something, or we have a golf cart where we're moving around to make sure we have what we need. Also for desktops and for informational technology systems to scrub them of what's not necessary so we don't have engineering drawings that have 27 different revisions and we don't know which one to use. Okay, so the purpose of the Shine is to surface problems and trigger immediate corrective action. And that's why 6S isn't a one-time event. We need to be setting up where we set up a system and then we have the things, the daily checklist and the weekly checklist of things that need to be done when it comes to sorting things, safety, and cleaning things, okay? So regularly clean the work area to make sure everything is ready for use. And what we're looking for is abnormal conditions, stuff that is not part of the standard, stuff that's popping up, stuff that gets in the way of our work, okay? So what we did here, what I did here, is I cleaned up the font a little bit so we can see the numbers more clearly. That's an example of Shine. We also have the racking to make the set in order. So we're kind of combining the two of these. Let's make the job easier for the people doing it. Same rules apply. But India, this time I asked sequential order if we can, is what we're trying to do because we want to find what we need when we need it. And we need these numbers in order. So let's give it another 30 seconds, which I might turn into 40. You never know. I am doing this as well. 5 seconds. All right. How'd we do? Michelle, how'd you do?
I got up to 13.
I got up to 21 sequentially.
Since I built this, got up to 28. But I will tell you, or I got up to, what was it? Yeah, 28. And what I realized, there is no 28. So I got up to 27.
Oh, 28's right there in the lower left corner.
And I missed it. Oh, it is. It is. Okay. See? See? So it was missed. So let me say, is this better than what it was before?
It is better than what it was before.
Are we there yet, though?
We are not
No.
there yet.
Okay. So what ideas do maybe you have to make this easier? What can we do to make this even easier? We got some racking in here. How can we make it easier?
First of all, we can make the font this consistent across all the numbers. So you have some fonts that are bold, some are not bold, some are much smaller than others. And some are upside down, some are sideways.
I did my best.
Yeah, it's better, but we still have room for improvement.
All right. All right. That's good to hear. Michelle, any ideas?
Going across instead of in different buckets. So, and I agree with the size, definitely. If it's all one sides instead of really small, where I feel like I need more than 20/20 to see it.
Right.
Okay. Like, I don't know about you guys, but this resonates with me with a lot of places I go. Like, how it's something that should be clear, and I'm, needing a magnifying glass to actually be able to find it. Okay. So we got that. So going across, like, horizontally rather than whatever this system is. Anything else based off of any knowledge of lean you guys might have that might make it easier?
Yeah, well, so the lower numbers, like you can group the numbers 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, until we get to, what's our number, 49? So we can do that rather than having 1 in one square, 2 in the next square, 3 in the next square, so we can group 1 through 10 in one square, 11 through 20 in another square, and then so on and so forth.
Excellent, excellent. And I guess I'll add this in so we can save time because we haven't gone through, the presentation as much, but color coding being
Correct.
a key. Okay, so that's something that we also maybe we can try to put in. And I think these ideas are going to make it easier to find the numbers we need when we need them. Because also, as I said in a previous slide, what we want is a system to be able to see abnormal conditions. So if a number is missing, we want it like come out and hit us in the head, pretty much, right? Well,
Mhm.
not literally. We put the anti-spinner things in there to stop that from happening. But okay, so let's see what we put these ideas together, what we can do. So this is an example of setting an order. And I saw some stuff at Tactical Air Support that does a good job of this, having stuff labeled in parts rooms and different things. And we're going to try to make it better. And again, this is purposely like you can't actually read the numbers. It would be better if the font was a little bigger so we could see. But I don't believe this one is in English from this example that I saw. So benefits of set in order. We're eliminating the clutter. We're reflecting the sequence of work, which India, as you mentioned, big key. Like how do we have 1 through 10 all in the area to whereas we can see them and have it organized. We want to reduce worker motion and frustration because I can't find this tool. I can't find this person. And there's different things that can be put in place, and we'll show some examples as we go into the main presentation today. We want to make sure that it's easy to find items and it's easy to return items. Michelle and I have talked about this before, but there's a book called Atomic Habits, which I recommend. And I'm probably butchering the quote here, but you want to make it easy for people to do the right thing. Okay. And that's what Set in Order can do for you. And you want to make it's a safe, ergonomic work environment. But this is also key when you're changing over in a process. You want to cut down on setup and changeover time and cleanup time to make sure it's easy to put stuff back to where it is. Or you can look at these bins and be like, we don't have enough. And that'll trigger corrective action. Okay. So we're going to combine some of these categories. So standardization. We talk about standard work with Lean, which really is Toyota standard work. They call it what you find. Like there's certain ways to do this. It's a little different when we talk about standardization, but we want to create consistent, repeatable way for maintaining the first 4 pillars of success. So we want to set the visual standards we're coming up and make sure people are following it. So these are guidelines for signage and color coding. We want to place visual work instructions or diagrams near where the work is done. We want to help workers understand where tools and materials should be placed and used. So we've made significant progress in our fun game here so far, but we want to standardize the process. So developing standard work documentation to create consistent, repeatable way for doing the work. So let's set some visual standards for the 4S. Since we're dealing with numbers 1 through 49 in sequence, it seems logical to reorganize and color code them to make the completion of the job easier and safe. And what we do here is our 3 ideas that we came up with are what we're going to have. So we're going to do the same thing, have numbers 1 through 49, see how we can do. All right, just to cut to the chase, what did you notice from this? How far did you get?
Down to
I-
the 4th row.
Okay, I'll give you a little more time. Keep going.
Yeah, all the way. I got to the end, but I had to stop at 25 because there's 2 25s.
All right. Yes, there are 2 25s.
Mhm,
We need a 26, don't we?
correct.
Why do we have a duplicate in different lanes? So what we would normally do if we had a 2-bin system, if it's parts, we'd have 2 bins, but they'd be in the same square, or if you will.
Mhm.
And so, but what with this, let me ask the question. Was this easier than the past iterations we did?
100%.
And so seeing 25 twice, which Michelle, did you catch that?
No, but the first time you did it, I did, and I can't believe I missed it.
And so one of the things we'll have to do is also make it, maybe the color coding for each row is specific to the row. It has the same color, but then there's something that's going to jump out at us that it's missing, right? Or that it's the wrong one.
Mhm.
Because when we started this exercise, we were all over the place of like being able to find stuff. So, but this is like, you could picture this in a factory or a place. This is a better practice. It's not perfect. As you can see, some of the font size is messed up. There's a couple different fonts. It's not filling the whole, row or square, if we will. But this is standardization. And what I want both of you thinking about and anybody watching this is the importance of standardization in our lives and to do our work, because this is easier, right? And it's easier to spot abnormal conditions. Not perfect. We might want to come up with a better way. So the benefits of standardization are to establish clear procedures, ensuring consistency in how we do our work. We want to reduce variability, leading to higher quality and more reliable outcomes. This also makes communication a lot easier, right? It was just like we could ask, did you miss this or you didn't see this? Why? Oh, I just missed it. It is here. I see it. It makes it a little easier to communicate rather than go find the numbers. Why couldn't you find the numbers? And you're just like, well, it's a mess. That's why I couldn't find the numbers. We're getting to a closer place of this standardization. Also, imagine this is not the toughest process or toughest type of work, most likely, but if you had to train new people on this, isn't it a little easier to explain to them how to do this?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's something is a huge pain point in organizations are getting people up to speed. I go into a lot of places, like how long does it take the person to get trained on the process? It depends. I'm like, well, what's the range? 1 week to 1 year. I'm just like, all right, I know some people are faster learners, but we got to bridge that gap. That's not going to work if they're doing the same job. How do we make it easier for the people to do the job rather than someone who is a borderline magician in their work that should be a CEO at some company if they're able to be able to find these things. Okay, so standard work being the key, it's the spinal cord of lean, really. You come up with the standard, the best way to do it, and then you continuously try to make it better. But you make sure everyone's on board because it's just so easy to see the abnormal conditions in this scenario. All right, and sustain, which some people might argue blends in with standardization. This is the real weakness of organizations. You could put in a 5 or 6S system and feel really good about it, and the floors are painted and it looks beautiful, and then they invite me back in a month later and it's back to where it was because you don't have the sustaining practices in place. So this is when management of the area needs to be visual and you need to sustain your improvements, and it takes discipline, right? We become complacent. What happens? Let's return to our original work area. And Michelle, 2 numbers are missing after we put this in. We cannot complete the task without these numbers. So let's find them. But luckily, we put some sustain factors in, some measures in to try to make it easier. All right, well, I already gone without doing this. So this is the benefits of sustaining what we'd have. We put in mistake proofing, so it's red if it's not in there. So we're gonna know if it's not in there, and we're also gonna have a bin for our safety stock. In case the customer wants to order more numbers, we're gonna have a little bit because that's something I didn't mention. They only want to buy 1 through 50, but that might change on a weekly basis. So we want to make sure we have what we need, but we have in our contracts with them that 54 is the highest that we're going to go. That's the highest demand, but we want to make sure we're creating the tack time that they're only ordering 50. We want to be at 50, but again, it is good to have a defined inventory of things that we might need if things change, but we don't want to get crazy. So this is what would happen if we were to really focus on sustaining the process. But then what happens if we don't adhere to it, right? We might have the color coding, but then it's hard again. Like our racks broke. I don't know how that happened, but I will say has happened at other places I've been before while there. And then the numbers are just flying everywhere again, okay? So the dangers of not adhering to this, we revert to our old habits where we put stuff in, and this is the danger of lean being project-based. It's continuous improvement. And as my father used to say, when people asked him, when do you do continuous improvement? And of course, he was very theatrical. He'd be like, I do not understand the question, all right? It's like breathing. We do it all the time. It's not a project-based thing. And that's really resonated with me because sometimes we try to make this project-based. Yes, we need to do Kaizen events where we get people together, we get a lot done in the days, but how can we set it up so it's an every day, every hour, every minute type of thing? Because ideally with continuous improvement, everywhere, I mean, everyone, everywhere, every day, making things better in a coordinated fashion. So it's not creating train wrecks in other areas. And that, is challenging, but this sustained type of behavior is what we want to do in all aspects of improvement work. And sustain doesn't always mean that it's going to stay the same forever. We want us to come up with new standards when things don't work, and that's why it's important to go through these cycles. So with sustain, we're making sure, let's get rid of the safety hazards. Let's waste time searching for items. We want to make sure that there's not potential damage to the products and materials. We want to reduce frustration, and let's get rid of the customer complaints. Okay. And here's just a thing. There's different examples of what you can do. Some tips for this. And again, what I recommend for doing 6S is pick an area of the organization and actually do the project. Actually put the stuff in and create it and create the system, and then you can roll it out in other areas. If you're working on your virtual system or how you do things, there's templates and different things I can provide and some coaching there to create the best system, because this works in both environments. So what you want to do is you want to ingrain 6S practices into your daily habits. You want to schedule routine audits. If it's a physical process, you want to have alternating auditors. And there's different templates I have that I can provide, or you could take what I have and make what works best for your organization, which is always my recommendation. Okay. Visual management being a key for this. 6S is normally where you start with visual management, and then we go into different practices, because visual controls being a huge aspect of 6S. And the second half of today, we'll talk about different ideas of visual controls. You want team participation when you do this. 6S is something everyone in the organization can do, and some people can be really, really, really good at. They take pride in their work. And it's important when you have the scenario that you're doing this, that someone in management, or hopefully the whole management team, has eyes on this, and they're also incorporating it into their behaviors. But at the same time, they are applauding efforts for doing this. That's what we talk about Kaizen, improvement work. You got to get top leaders, the behaviors that they show that it's important that people are trying to find ways to make it better. And then another thing we do with 6S, and I've done this with many different organizations, is friendly competition. Let's see who does best on the audits. Let's see who adds the most value with what they're doing and creates the best system. You get that healthy dissatisfaction with how work is done and how can we keep getting better, and then to celebrate the success once we get there. Okay. And so what I ask, and I know Michelle and India have already done this, and if some of you watching haven't done it yet or haven't seen this, remember, workplace organization, we want to create an organized, clean, safe, high performance workplace where everything is in its right place. So the next steps, take this exercise, make it your own, see how it can help you and how you can apply it in different areas. But if you're going to be someone that's going to train 6S on others, I recommend using something like this to get people excited and involved. But it does start with you. Anybody doing this, you have to adopt the behaviors that make this really work. And we're going to explain some of those in the back half of this presentation. So that is my newest update of the 6S numbers game. Any comments or questions?
I like this version. This was definitely more animated and interactive. It was cool.
I also spent a lot more time talking about different things and trying to get us talking rather than just, I think it was much quicker, but I think this is more efficient. But again, I will have a survey for how I can make this better, but this stuff excites me because I think he can get people really excited about moving into this. So at this point, what we're going to do is take another 10-minute break. And Michelle, I've pivoted it a little bit just based off the crowd to make this as meaningful as possible. And the back half of this, we'll make sure we go through the steps of 6S, show tangible examples, and then also brainstorm how we can get started in our work areas or to make things better than what we already have. Okay, so we'll be back at 10:45. Thanks for watching.